So, a couple of days ago, President Kennedy established the Peace Corps. The Peace Corps is sending trained Americans as well as goodwill ambassadors to develop nations. Once there, these volunteers will help with agriculture, education, and health projects, as well as small businesses and rural engineering. And here's a quote from someone who would like to stay anonymous. I was in college when JFK created the Peace Corps, and I thought it was a great idea. I was inspired by his question. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. I wanted to travel and experience different cultures, and I admire President Kennedy's idealism, so I applied. Living in another country, I learned to appreciate my own country more. As you can see, this has inspired many. And now to something not so anonymous. Norma Jean Baker. On June 1st, 1926, in Los Angeles, California, born during her all-too-brief life, Norma Baker, better known as Marilyn Monroe, overcome her difficult childhood and became the world's biggest and most endured sex symbol. Monroe did not know her father or her mother, Gladys. She was eventually placed in a mental institution because of her psychological problems. Growing up, Monroe spent much of her time in foster care and in an orphanage. In 1937, her family friend and her husband, Grace and Doc Goddard, took her in for several years. But when Doc's job was transferred in 1942 to the East Coast, the couple could not afford to bring Monroe with them. So once again, Monroe was faced life in foster care. But there was a way out. Get married. So she married her boyfriend, Jimmy Darty, on June 19, 1942. A merchant marine, Jimmy was sent to the South Pacific, and by the time Jimmy returned in 1946, Monroe had a modeling career. Their marriage came to an end, and the couple divorced in 1946. That's the same year Monroe signed for her first movie contract. That's when her character, Marilyn Monroe, came out. She ended up dyeing her hair blonde. And now, her and the retired baseball player, Joe Banjario, are tying the knot after one spectacular date when the sparks flew. They're one of the most famous couples. Here's a clip herself, Marilyn Monroe, singing Happy Birthday to the President.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you.
Now, the news everyone's been waiting for. The U-2 incident. Earlier, a U-2 spy plane was shot down by the Soviet surface in an air missile in the morning. CIA pilot Francis Gray Powers had been on a top-secret mission. The mission was to fly over and photograph denied territory from his U-2 spy plane deep in Russia. His fate and that of the entire U-2 program remained a mystery for days. But I have some details. Gary Powers actually landed his plane in the Soviet Union. There was a bomb on board. And I have some consequences. With Gary Powers, he was convicted of espionage and has 3 years imprisonment and 7 years of hard labor. From big news to toy news, here are the toys everyone's talking about. The box cars are a favorite for little boys. The Legos are new, but won't take long for kids to fall in love. Big with the girls is the hula hoops, and Barbies are soon to take over. But a favorite for adults and children would have to be the Silly Putty. They're calling it the real solid liquid. It's the first novelty item. They added to the bounciness and the stretchiness and the molding. And now kids can spend hours using the putty to copy images and by bending and stretching them to make them funny. Here is a commercial that you'll be seeing often.
Hello there. You know, I've been all around this wonderful world of ours, and in all this world, nothing else is silly putty. What is silly putty? Well, it's a real solid liquid. If you pull it so, it'll go forever, like taffy. But if you give it a sharp tug, it'll break like a biscuit. Now, when you make silly putty round and drop it, it'll bounce higher than a rubber ball. And here's something else you can do with silly putty. Flatten it, press a picture in your newspaper, lift it, stretch it this way and that, and you'll get something that's really funny. Always put your silly putty back in its egg, or it will run slowly away. You can buy silly putty for $1 wherever toys are sold. And remember, nothing else is silly putty.
This was Stardust Swimmer, and I thank you for watching.